You know, you guys, I think it's safe to say that this James Harden for Ben Simmons swap will be one of the craziest trades we see in NBA history, and this can be said in the sense that it is one of the rare trades that we see where it is a win-win scenario in the here and now. And obviously, as time goes on, there is only going to be more and more to discuss and dissect on both sides of the situation. And as we are already getting into it, I'm gonna try to not be that guy that makes overreactions and judgments on such a small window of time. But ladies and gentlemen, from what we have already seen out of the James Harden and Joel Embiid era in Philadelphia, might just be one of the craziest things we have ever seen, and is telling us exactly how this pairing is going to work for the foreseeable future, and how this pairing has already made NBA history and changed the landscape of Philly completely needs to be looked into a little bit further. One sec, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those noties to never miss another NBA video. Love you guys. And for those of you that haven't yet, believe me, now is the time to do so, because according to my numbers, over 95% of you guys coming back to watch the content haven't even subscribed yet. So for any of you that do, thank you so much. But anyway, let's get back into the man himself, James Harden, and what we have seen out of him as a 76er. Because for anyone who has watched James Harden play basketball in almost any essence over the course of the last couple of years, you probably know, as well as almost anyone, that there is a very simple formula that needs to be fulfilled for James Harden to thrive to the best of his abilities. And this simple formula really just has two main factors. One being an elite center to play alongside him, and two being the need for more floor spacing. And in case you guys haven't been watching the Philadelphia 76ers over the last 7 to 8 years, it's absolutely clear as day that what is going on in Philly right now is nothing short of a match made in heaven for James Harden. And if you don't think that's the case, I think Harden's numbers in his Philly career thus far would say otherwise. As so far in his Philly career, James Harden is putting up averages of 28 points, 8.5 rebounds, 14 assists, and 2.5 steals per game. Not to mention absurd shooting splits of 58% from the field, 57% from 3, and a crazy average of a plus 27 plus minus. Which, of course, these numbers across the board are absolutely ridiculous no matter what statistical category you are looking at, but if we had to single out one from the rest, it would undoubtedly be the playmaking that we have seen out of James Harden thus far. I mean, really, anyone who watches NBA basketball should know that James Harden is one of the best playmakers the entire league has to offer, and yet still somehow hilariously gets labeled as a ball hog from time to time. And again, as we mentioned previously, you would typically think it would take some time to see James Harden get into the groove that he is currently in, but from what we have seen thus far, it legitimately looks like James Harden has been building the chemistry that he already has with this team for the last 2 to 3 years. In fact, just to even more emphasize how historic of a transition this has been for Harden to Philly, he has become the first player in NBA history to have both 25 points and at least 10 assists in his first 2 games with a completely new team. Thinking about it now, for anyone who might have thought the 76ers gave up too much for a mid-season trade when James Harden was likely to come to the team in the following offseason, and just for the record, I was one of those people, now I think fully understand why Daryl Morey pulled the trigger on this deal. But aside from the surge in play that we will see from James Harden for the foreseeable future, this trade very clearly already has and will affect other people on this Sixers squad as well, with one of, if not the biggest beneficiary of this entire ordeal being the one and only Joel Embiid. And if you don't want to take my word for it, we can just go on account of Joel, who stated after his first game alongside James Harden, quote, "I have never been so wide open in my whole career." And if you guys have happened to watch any of the games these two have played together since they've paired up, I think the eye test can completely agree with what Joel is saying. Because when you think about this, even before the James Harden trade, Joel Embiid was having the most dominant season of his entire career, putting up averages of 30 points, 11 rebounds, rebounds, 4.5 assists, and a ridiculous 32 player efficiency rating. And may I remind you, he was putting up these numbers with almost every single defense they played solely focusing on him. To think that defenses not only have to scheme for Joel Embiid now, but have to think about James Harden right alongside him, really might just be nothing short of a nightmare for specific teams as the playoffs roll around. And to get just a brief example of what this pairing is doing for Joel Embiid, in his games alongside Harden thus far, he has averaged 35.5 points, 9.5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks per game. If the NBA thought Embiid was unstoppable before this trade, the league might just have a completely new monster ahead of them. But if you or any team around the league thought that Philly was just going to be a two-headed monster to deal with, opposing teams might be up to even more of a challenge, as it seems James Harden was the best thing to ever happen to the Sixers' rising star in Tyrese Maxey. And don't get me wrong when I say this, most NBA fans, and I know Philly fans specifically, know that Tyrese Maxey has been on the rise ever since he has entered the league. But what the Sixers have seen out of this kid since throwing James Harden into the rotation is honestly nothing short of incredible. As with shifting into the quote-unquote third option of this team and going to fulfill more of an off-the-ball type of role, the possibilities of Tyrese Maxey's game have seemingly doubled over the span of the last couple of days. And just for example, in what we have seen from Tyrese Maxey thus far when sharing the court with James Harden, he has averaged 24.5 points per game on 67% shooting and a 76% true shooting percentage. Now, I don't think I need to pull up Tyrese Maxey's seasonal averages for you to know that this is a massive improvement we've seen out of him. And the best part about this for Philly is that this man, who can already seemingly be the third star you need in this rotation, is still just somehow only 21 years old. And if you think me throwing Tyrese Maxey into the title of a Philly Big Three is a bit of a stretch this early, I will say that may be fair, but I will leave you with the fact that through 2 games of this Big Three being together, they have scored a combined 87 and 89 points in their respective games, totaling to a more than impressive 176 points. If we want to talk about what might be one of the craziest parts of this trade, it might very well be the fact that Daryl Morey was somehow able to keep Tyrese Maxey on the Sixers. I don't know, you guys, there is obviously so much more to talk about with this trade and from what we have seen thus far, but now we are on to my favorite part of every single video, and that is hearing what you guys have to think about the situation. So please let me know in the comments, what do you think out of what you've seen from this 76ers team thus far? Do you think this Harden trade has made them the clear-cut frontrunners in the East? How far do you see them making it in the postseason? I want to hear what you guys have to say. Also though, again, if you haven't yet, don't forget to go down below and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course, subscribe while you're down there. I can't say it enough, you guys, with the postseason right around the corner and brand new NBA videos every single week around here, believe me when I say this, you do not want to miss out. But on that note, I also wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for watching. I appreciate all of you more than anything, you all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.